Hello, this is the Statera podcast number 3. My name is Ross Johnston.
And my name's Adrian.
And, let's get started straight into it, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
After a nice morning brunch, we've discussed a few things and reminisced about what's been happening in the last 20 odd days, 30 days. I think I'm just looking at my journal here. It's been just under a month since the number 2. And a fair bit's happened for one or two of us anyway, and I don't know. Let's get cracking, I guess.
Yeah. So I think we wanted to originally our first subject would talk about our upcoming Ayahuasca ceremony that we have this Friday, and something that Ross has done before here in Perth, and something I've personally wanted to do for a while, and we've been fortunate enough that we've been given an opportunity and invite to do it on this upcoming Friday. So we thought we'd just first part of this podcast discuss ayahuasca itself and some of its pros, its cons, what it's meant for, and where it comes from, things like that. So it's just a really interesting medicine as it's described by the indigenous, both in ayahuasca comes from the Amazon in South America, but it's used all over the world. It's been used in civilizations such as the Egyptians, indigenous Australians use it as well, from the acacia plant. And it's just getting more and more into the mainstream, isn't it, over the last couple of years. For a few decades now, but now especially over the last couple of years.
I remember the first documentary I saw on ayahuasca was I would have been in my teens. 34 now, so 10 years ago, a couple of decades. Well, a decade ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, big time. And
I'd only heard of it maybe 2 years ago, two and a half years ago.
At the time, I didn't know it was ayahuasca. It was advertised as ayahuasca with a documentary on ayahuasca. This shall I say, open-minded hippie and his beautiful partner and their young child went to the Amazon. They went to Peru, somewhere like this, South America, took this ayahuasca, and the first 5 minutes of it grabbed me, if not the first 5 seconds. Yeah. And I thought, what is this? And they documented what it was all about. And ever since then, slowly but surely, exponentially so in recent years, like you're saying, it's become more and more prevalent in dialogue, society's dialogue. And of course, ayahuasca is one of but many medicines that help one heal. There's other ones as well, but in this case for us,
Iboga plant is another one. Yep.
You were saying that the boga plant is, was it boga or
iboga?
Iboga plant is a bit more intense and a bit more hard to handle or something. I'm not sure if we spoke about it in the last podcast, but
I can't remember if we did or not. The iboga is
tell us.
I'll tell you, Ross. I'll tell you. It's very similar. The ayahuasca is more external influences that come in to teach you, to heal you. Iboga is more of a inner truth, or sort of inner awareness, inner fix, I suppose. But it does really knock you out, and it most people sort of end up in a fetal position and
really
crook really bad. But with the iboga, we won't get too much into it today. You just any question that you may have just comes to you with absolute clarity, absolute dead-eye awareness and clarity about any sort of issue or subject you want to talk about or discuss, or know, I should say. So it's interesting. Going back to the ayahuasca thing, the first time I came across it was a workmate of mine, and he was interested in all these sort of things. It was his last day of work, actually, and we never even used to talk about these different subjects. And he said, have you heard of this drug called ayahuasca? I was like, oh no. And
when was this, sorry, by the way?
When? About 2.5 years ago. And I hadn't. And my housemate at the time, about the same time, gave me a book on Peruvian shamanism. I can't remember the name of the book, but it starts with the author. He's an American sociologist, anthropologist. Went down to Peru and took ayahuasca. And the epilogue to the book is his experience when he's on ayahuasca. And it was just insane. It was like, wow, I've got to find out more about this medicine. And I'm hesitant to say drug because the connotations drug.
Absolutely.
The word drug can have negative, and it's definitely shouldn't be looked upon that way. A lot of drugs, actually, not just ayahuasca, but it is truly a medicine. And
again, as with any altering state substance, moderation and balance, right? Surely, of course.
Yeah.
And different strokes for different folks. So your physiology may be best suited to water, to give you a hallucinogenic or altered state of mind through meditation or what have you. But for other people, whatever. There's pot, there's alcohol, there's iboga. Not too many people would suit iboga, I'm going to guess.
No, and I really don't think alcohol is the good way to do it either. But
more clouding, more negative and downer too. Absolutely.
But I think if it's ayahuasca or ibogaine, any of these, ayahuasca is regarded as the most powerful psychedelic in the world.
Is it really?
Yeah, you'd really want to have your wits about you. I think you can't go in sort of half baked or on a fringe, with sort of any sort of brain chemistry to function. It really doesn't lend itself because it's so powerful, I guess. So
and then of course there's the blue aminis and the gold tops with mushrooms.
Yeah.
And a couple of other things. But, there you have it. So it's Monday today, and this Friday is our journey, which I've been looking forward to since the last one, which was the last one that I did, the first one that I did, which was, I believe, in late November 2012. Yes. So what is it now? June. 7-8 months ago. So it's been that amount of time, and I'm looking forward to it greatly. Of course, my good friend here, Adrian, is doing it for the first time. And did we tell the guys out there that you were thinking about going to South America this year or last year?
I think since then it's all
been concreted in.
Yeah, I've been fortunate enough. I don't think I really spoke about last time, but I was fortunate enough to be asked to go to Peru in November with a group of people, and just from different people all around the world, and very fortunate to be asked. So I'm all booked and paid for, Ross, and
fantastic.
Ready to go. I just need to sort my flights out now, but I'm going out for a 10-day retreat in the jungles there of the Amazon, and with a proper shaman, and
you got 5 days or something, right? 5 days of journey.
10 days.
But actual ceremonies, there's going to be.
There's 4 ayahuasca sessions and a peyote session as well.
Peyote.
Yeah.
So San Pedro's as well and all that kind of stuff.
San Pedro.
San
Pedro.
You said,
What's the difference between San Pedro and peyote? Isn't it? It's just another cactus, I think, isn't it?
I believe so.
I think it's a San Pedro ceremony.
You've had San Pedro before, or was that?
No, I think Net King has.
Yeah. There's plenty of that around these parts as well. Well, not plenty, but it's accessible around here as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So should we speak a bit about ayahuasca and give a bit of a breakdown of its what it is and where it comes from?
Yeah, sure.
Just quickly give a...
Well, you've probably done a little bit more reading and research than I have, but my version of what ayahuasca is, it certainly is from 2 plants. It's South American in its native originality, I guess you could say. And absolutely as a medicine, the true sense of the word, I don't know the technical definition of medicine, but it should be induced or taken with a doctor, if not a shaman doctor, a medicine man from South America originally, and it's taken with intent. I mean, I've only had it once, and in this part of the woods, not in South America. So, what is ayahuasca? Well, look, you've written down some notes. You tell us.
Yeah, so like Ross said, it's the 2 parts to it, and it's boiled together. So it's just wrote it down here. It's the leaves or bark of one plant, which holds a key ingredient, which is DMT, dimethyltryptamine.
Yeah.
So the DMT is the psychedelic component of it.
The active constituent.
The active constituent, yeah. The part that accesses, other realms or wherever you might go, also makes it makes yourself available to other entities, to other spirits, other life forms. All of which sounds a bit kooky, I know, and but all these people can't be wrong. That's the way I see it. All these people, they've had these experiences, fairly similar experiences with rainbow serpents. Different bits and pieces from all around the world.
Absolutely. And for more times.
And for thousands of years, yeah. And this has been going on with the South Americans and the Australian Aborigines. They go into the exact same. Rainbow serpent, these colourful serpents are a main factor of ayahuasca, along with other things when you just take DMT on its own, which you can do, which is a little bit more intense, but ayahuasca is a longer affecting drug. So it's a leaf and a plant of one, leaves or the bark of one plant, which is a DMT component, and then goes with that the MAOI inhibitor, which is the vine of another plant. Now, when you take ayahuasca, your stomach's digestive system blocks out the DMT, just has its natural ability to do that. So what they managed to be able to find, however long ago it must have been, was that this vine allows the body to absorb DMT properly. It doesn't block it. So this MAOI inhibitor allows that to happen. So it's really, and they believe it was Mother Ayahuasca, the plants told them to do this and to use these two different plants. So that's what they use now. And boil it together, and then you drink it, and then you go into another world, or another world comes to you.
An altered state of mind. I like that one, actually, the latter.
Yeah.
An altered state comes to you, another world comes to you. So is it the vine that has the active DMT?
No, that's the inhibitor part of it. Yeah, it's the bark
right.
or the leaf.
The other way around.
No, yeah, it's the bark or the leaf of another plant, which, you know, the acacia plant, which is, for anyone living in Australia, you know, the acacia runs all through there, especially in the southwest of Western Australia, where we're from. That contains high quantities of DMT, and so it's probably a similar plant to what's in South America there, and they use. So, yeah.
And in particular, the Acacia acuminata is one plant with apparently rather high levels of dimethyltryptamine at our fingertips.
Yeah,
in the
and which the indigenous population used for centuries, if not thousands of years here.
Yeah. You'd have to think for thousands of years. You know, considering they've been here for at least 60,000 years. Yeah. So there you have it. Yeah. Cool. And just quickly, I know I would have mentioned it in one of the other podcasts, but for me, I think it was last podcast, the rainbow serpent that certain cultures have been speaking of and experiencing with for thousands of years, I believe I saw in a mild altered state through ayahuasca, my first journey. And I explained it, I saw it as not being religious, not being an indigenous either, and not disbelieving also in the rainbow serpent, just being open. I experienced patterns of energy, not chaotic patterns of energy. So the patterns of energy that I saw were like this, similar to Kundalini, you know. And
was it geometric or more fluid?
Fluid.
Okay.
But I saw geometric patterns as well, apart from the serpents of energy. I call them serpents of energy.
Yeah.
I saw them come from my hand, some coming from the ground, especially with concentration, but not concentration through thought, concentration through something like opening your heart, you know, just feeling, not thinking about things. Don't try, and that world comes to you.
Let go.
Yeah, exactly.
Let go of ego.
Especially.
I heard on a Joe Rogan interview he did once, he was talking about his DMT experience, and during it he saw some Buddha, but just made of energy, and
wow.
Yeah, and he looked at it, and then the voice just came to him and said, "Don't give in to astonishment," which could probably happen. You just see this and just absolutely give into astonishment and wreck the whole experience itself. Yeah. So just have to let go of all that. Just accept what it is. Accept what's happening to you. You know, you can have it's really it can be a really tough medicine to take, ayahuasca as well. You can go into some hell realms even. Have bad entities come towards you. That's where the shaman helps. That's where the shaman helps deflect a lot of the bad spirits.
Well, I think traditionally shamans would necessarily go under. Yeah. Would go to the underworld. You often hear about, well, I often hear about stories and read, but mostly hear about stories or portals. Stories of portals where shamans and your spirit go to, that go down at a hole in a trunk. You know, so you're in an altered state of mind through trance drumming or ayahuasca or what have you. And when you're in a meditative state, when you're at the point you're walking around and you see a portal, go into the underworld, you go into that underworld, that portal, and that's where you do work. That's where the shaman does his or her work, in the underworld. And so, absolutely, there can be hell realms, so to speak, inverted commas. Now, I would argue...
I don't think they're necessarily hell realms they go to, though.
But underworld.
Yeah. It is underworld, yeah.
I think some people may call them...
Depends on your definition of hell,
exactly,
though, too.
Exactly. Yeah. It certainly would not match my definitions of hell. Absolutely. But underworld for sure. Darkness. Confronting your darkness and your fears, which can be said quite lightly, as I just did, but I believe Adrian and I both know intimately that, as in personally, that your fears and your own darkness. Your fears are your reflections of yourself, your own darkness. And I tell you what, maybe later on in this podcast we'll talk about them more at the opportune time, but that's what my underworld is about. It is darkness. It is my darkness, and nothing has scared me more than my own fears. Yeah. And like you said just then about don't be astonished by it. Don't be astonished by the great white light when you see it, if you get a chance to see it. Don't be astonished by the great darkness if you see it when you see it.
Or by that UFO or the alien coming to you,
exactly.
whatever it might be, that being of energy.
Or an awakening of yours, or a quickening of yours, or an initiation of yours. And I guess, how do you do that? Be present, be reflective, and it comes with experience.
Yeah,
sure.
You're exactly right. Experience would be a big thing, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I mean, and if you astonish yourself out of it, that experience, and you're no longer there, then rest assured that it will happen again if you so desire. So astonishment given to it, so to speak. Be present, and not so much constantly reflect, but for me, be present and presently reflect, not as often as you can, but know that if you're starting to think, wow, what is this? What I've found, it's taken me years, especially in, I would call it lucid dreaming, but astral projection or what have you, is, again, it's taken me years, like 10 years, brother. 10 years. And I've been given this advice by a great friend of ours, Mr. Bruce, for years. And he said, other people have said, ask a question. If you're in a lucid dream or astral projection, or in a journey with Ayahuasca in the underworld or whatever, the light world, and you're kind of wandering through thought or physically with your energy body, ask a question. Be present. What am I doing here? Help. Leave me alone. That negative spirit, like we spoke about earlier today, is not entering this being. So on and so forth. Ask something. Be there. Be present. Don't look at it from the third person. Be there. Yeah. And
try not to be afraid.
Yeah.
If you can.
That's right. Confront it without being bashful.
Yeah,
I think,
and we also spoke about this, but other things I've read and interviews I've seen is just letting ego go, letting your ego go. That's the biggest thing you can do, because ego really sort of restricts us and traps us, and
by accepting it
prevents.
Right? So you accept your ego and then let it go.
I guess so. Yeah, it makes me. That's why I'm really interested for myself to see how I go. Like, I think I've got my ego after a couple of years of really working on it, sort of in check. A couple of years, it doesn't happen like that. No. But I'll be interested to see when I do ayahuasca on Friday how much of my role that my ego plays, and if it really wants to start taking over and dominating the experience. I'll be really interested. I'm thinking now that it won't. I think I'm at a stage now where it won't, but maybe not. Maybe. Yeah. How did you go with it your first time? Did you have an issue with?
Yeah. I think anyone would be unaware of the fact that they're not being totally truthful if they were to speak contrary to that. In other words, absolutely, ego does, inverted commas, get in the way. I mean, and there is healthy ego. Ego is not bad. Sure. But if you don't accept the fact that your ego may get in the way of opening your heart and going with the journey and giving in, blah blah, you're kidding yourself. You've got to accept you've got it. Healthy or not, ego, and release it. And how do we call it? Ayahuasca spirit, sacred ayahuasca.
Mother ayahuasca.
Mother ayahuasca, I like that. Comes to you and it will confront. Well, not confront, but it'll speak to you through feelings and emotions, and if your ego is getting in the way, it'll show you. It's like that mirror, your mirror, not a physical mirror, of course. If your ego is getting in the way, it will confront you with ego, and it'll scare. I think it will scare you. So for me, did my ego get in the way? I was aware of it. I believe I released it. It got in the way to start with. Let's not forget, excuse me, that a journey or ceremony, an ayahuasca ceremony, doesn't start with the inducing of the tincture of the brew. It doesn't start with the first hallucination that you have. I believe it starts as soon as you become aware of. Ayahuasca exists, because as soon as you're aware that it exists, sooner or later, if you're that way inclined, you're going to end up taking it, reading about it, hearing about it, then taking it, and healing yourself, or what have you. And then it gets closer and closer and closer. So, and in our case, it's 4 or 5 days away. For me, the ayahuasca journey starts now. We prepare ourselves and all the rest of it. We start thinking about our intent. And with that preparation, things like ego, you become aware of, and hopefully at the time when you're sitting in sacred space, you're aware of it. And when you're sharing your intent, one of those things will be, addressing your ego. And as soon as you induce it, some moments later, those things will get out of the way if you are aware of them.
Sure.
So for me, they got out of the way pretty quickly. And only on 1 cup, depending on strength, how much is that? Well,
depends on the shaman usually, and
exactly.
the brew that he makes
and
or
the
she
group
makes.
of people.
Yeah.
The group of people that you're with.
Yeah.
The state of mind of these people, it's extremely dynamic and free flowing. It's an organic process, and it's absolutely enlightening. Ego for me got in the way, and then got out of the way pretty quick. And only on 1 cup I experienced many great things. So, yeah, I mean, do we want to talk about that point on intent?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll just start off with my intent on the first one, which was my first journey. I'll get through this quick if I can. Keeping in mind that with a journey like this, ayahuasca, time is not linear. The ayahuasca journey that I had the first time 6 or 7 months ago, whatever I said, that is here with me now, and it will be here with me this Friday. The 2 journeys will be one, and it will be a continuation. So my intent then was to strengthen my connection with my higher self, my highest potential, the greater consciousness, sacred Mother Earth, all of the above. It was to strengthen my connection with my highest potential. And that's what I received through a number of ways. My intent will evolve between now and this coming Friday into something as soon as that person to my right has stopped talking with their intent, and I have got the microphone, so to speak. My true intent then will be decided. But it'll be something about the same thing, strengthening my connection with my higher self and all that.
Yeah.
But getting a bit more real. That's a bit vague, a bit general. I think I might get a bit more real this time.
Sure.
You've discussed yours with me before, and we'll discuss it with the fine people out there soon. But that's given me some ideas, and those ideas being about confronting certain fears and shadows and whatever. My own reflection, possibly negative reflection. And I've had a few experiences in the last year or two. And it's time to get real on those things and confront them and get out of my comfort zone, which is a big thing. I'm
but
quite
important as well, Ross.
Oh,
very important.
Absolutely. Numero uno, number 1. So my intent would be, confront those things, following on the discussion we've had this morning, and just receiving the love, heart space.
Yeah.
Not using too much thought, and using the feelings more so.
Yeah.
So I got that part of my intent through discussion with Adrian and through your ideas and your intent, and your intent was?
Yeah, I guess we should also talk about why intent is important in ayahuasca.
Big time.
So it's a medicine that you need to, sort of anything can happen, if you go in there without any real structure to what you want to do or what you want to achieve, there's more chance of something, I shouldn't say bad, but what's the word? Difficult, I suppose, for something difficult to occur while you're under the influence of ayahuasca. So intent really just helps give a bit more of a structure and sort of really help you work out what you need to work out. So if that makes sense. But
it gives you a structure, a framework.
Yeah, gives it a framework. Yeah, otherwise you can just go in there without, and you could end up anywhere.
Yeah,
exactly.
You get lost.
Yeah. So intent's very important, and I think with anything in life, intent is really important thing to have.
Motive, intent.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we were talking in the first podcast about goals as well, and goal setting, is all quite important. So, but especially in a ceremony, it's good to have that intent.
Especially like we're saying when you're with others.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
every individual will be bringing their own energies and intent and experience and difficulties and pros and cons, what have you, and they're going to affect the whole thing. So with your own intent, that'll give you that structure that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And you know, if you start getting lost, well, what am I here for? Ask those questions. Help. What's my intent? Brings you back.
Sure.
Keeps you on track.
Yeah.
Such as life, like you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very important intent.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be important, isn't it? For a while, I didn't really realise what my intent was going to be. When we sort of got this organised maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago. Was it Ross? Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
And mine was pretty broad about, you know, I don't know if I want to talk about my intent going in.
That's
it's
fine.
a bit personal, I think, but I might do it later in this podcast to see how I feel,
I mean, of course, like I said with mine, Adrian, I think yours will be similar, not in terms of what exactly the intent's going to be, but the evolution of one's intent. Last time I was thinking about mine 2 or 3 weeks before. And then the moment before, that just after that person to my right in the sacred circle finished her intent, that's when mine was decided. And mine actually changed. Yeah. You know, so and that's cool. Your intent is your intent. The time will come where you'll share it with people, but basically, with sharing with people, you're actually sharing it with, you know, the spirits and the energy of ayahuasca. So that's half of it too. You know, voicing it, not just thinking it or feeling, but voicing it. Sure. It's like writing a contract or making a deal. Yeah. Your intent is this. Yeah. And I like what you said. Actually, you know, it's a medicine that only works efficiently. Yeah. Truly, with intent, you know, and releasing all that fucking shit. Yeah, it's a purge. They call it a purging drug. So when you take it, you can vomit, you can shit yourself, and a lot of the time it does happen, and they call it purging. So it's obviously a toxic component in the medicine itself, which causes you to do that. But it's not just it's also a metaphoric thing when you do physically purge. That you're also purging your conscious or your subconscious is purging as well. So crying's another one. Crying, right? A bit of purging. Yeah. Like I didn't spew or shit myself, but I had tears in my eyes. Not sobbing, but I did have a couple of tears in my eyes. I think that was partly as well because I was fucking exhausted. I was exhausted. So much was happening, and it was just a release, a purge. Yeah. And just. Yeah. And you get one for a better word here. Nothing wrong with the word, but emotional. You get quite emotional towards the end. It's a big experience. Either way, whichever way you go into it and come out of it or experience it, it's a big experience. Why don't we discuss ayahuasca and its role in society at the moment and why I believe it's here. I think it's sort of a critical point that we should discuss today. Yeah. You know, not just our experience of it, but why it's important. Yeah. Not just for us, but for this planet. Wow. Yeah, well, let us try. I mean, from my point of view, it's critical, like you say, because there's a critical point. There's a pattern in society, in this in the Western society, in the world. There's a pattern emerging, that has emerged, where there is a movement towards awareness, something like this. That something isn't quite right. We spoke about that in the first podcast. And that people are becoming aware of what is right. More, there's more to what's just going on and what we're being fed and what we're being told. You know, how we're being educated. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And exactly relative to this movement and pattern is the synchronistic, if that's the word, the synchronistic rising and awareness of Mother Ayahuasca. You know, there's no coincidence at all. It's synchronistic. It truly is nice, and so much so that from South America and wherever else in the world, and whenever else in the world, so from 60,000 years, it's happening now. It's been happening forever. Ayahuasca and uprising and patterns and all this kind of stuff, and whether it's cyclic or not, who cares? But right now, it's happening. The role. Okay, what do you think? Tell us more about the role of ayahuasca in this. Yeah, I guess you pretty much hit it on the head. It's really just to help
it is becoming more and more popular. I guess the word is in the mainstream, and more people are finding out about it. Anyone who listens to Triple J here in Australia knows of the current affair program called Hack. About 3 weeks ago, the whole segment was on ayahuasca. So it's obviously becoming more and more popular. Ben Lee, the musician Ben Lee, his latest album is called Ayahuasca. It's basically, a collection of songs in regards to ayahuasca and his experience with them. So it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think that's, and another fear, I guess, is because the Amazon is just being decimated, hectares at a time, each day hectares are being lost, that, ayahuasca itself is sort of losing some of its area for growth, I suppose. It's just physical growth of the plant and of the vine and of the bark and leaf. So it's getting more. It's because it realizes that if it has an intelligence, which
it does.
A lot of people believe it does, that it's bringing itself out into the rest of the world, so that it's not just lost in the Amazon. It is brought all over the world, so people can use it and learn from it.
It's seeding itself, in a way.
Yeah.
One way to look at it, I absolutely agree with that point. That or part of that point anyway. That is, it is an organism. I want to think about. Well, I do think about ayahuasca. It's mother ayahuasca. It is ayahuasca comes from dimethyltryptamine in a particular couple of plants, in a particular plant in this case, combined with another plant, so that the body can induce it. It can also come in the form, I believe, DMT in many other plants. It's within plants.
And let's not forget also, just quickly, Ross, that DMT is also created inside the body as well.
Yes, the pineal
gland. The pineal gland. Hasn't been proven exactly, but it's believed it's produced in the pineal gland. But it's in most grasses, in most plants, DMT is located, and it's located in our heart as well. It gets released from our heart, our liver. There's different organs in the body where it gets released, but they believe the pineal gland is the main crux of it. And again, in the second podcast we spoke about when we dream, DMT, dimethyltryptamine, which again is the active ingredient in ayahuasca, is the chemical that creates dreams wherever you go during dream period.
And we would have mentioned in the second podcast that that moment when you fall away to sleep, DMT is released. That moment where you die, huge amounts of dimethyltryptamine is released by the pineal gland. I don't know if it's a euphoric feeling. Well, I know DMT is a euphoric feeling, but when you die, if it's a euphoric feeling, and it takes you to the white light or what have you. Ned King may better talk about that a bit more, but it's a natural, wonderful thing, DMT. But back to what I said before, I think that I look at populations of living things, in this case plants, as an organism, such as the Amazon, as an organism. Ayahuasca, predominantly, naturally coming from South America and the Amazon, this huge, the biggest forest in the world, this huge organism. I mean, behind the ocean, it's probably, it's the biggest organism on Earth, you'd have to think.
The Amazon?
Yeah. There's this green mass of beauty, of which, in this magical feeling of love, is ayahuasca at the crux of it. Ayahuasca, just remember, is a word. The mother ayahuasca, we call it, is from this beautiful forest, this organism, this one organism that is being decimated, pillaged, sold, chopped out. It's terrible. And so in that way, when an organism is in shock, shocked by too much sun or burned not enough water, or it's being chopped down, like your limbs are being chopped away, you're in shock, you go into shock mode, run off, not so much fight or flight, but I know, being in the industry, that when I see plants in shock, they flower and fruit prolifically, because they know that they're automatically and instinctively their life is being threatened. What do you do to pass on to the next generation? Well, you seed in a higher conscious, in a higher level way. The higher prevalence of ayahuasca in our society, in a Western society, not South American shaman society, forest tribal way, where it came from and originated from, but in a Western society, it's seeding itself. It's little tentacles, it's little seeds coming over to Perth, Western Australia, and every corner of the world. Slowly but surely. Or is it quickly but surely now? And
it's gathering pace. Yeah. I mean, it's like we talked about. It's been going on for like last 2 or 3 decades. But I wonder how long it's been, because now it's in England, in Japan, and in Australia, obviously. Through Africa, people can experience and take ayahuasca through different shamans that are traveling around the world. But how long has that been going on for? Has that been the last 5 years, or has that been going on for 50 years as well?
I would say, something like this. So it's been happening slowly for a long time. Well, I don't know.
But now it's doing this. It's really definitely
the last few years
taken off exponentially. It really
has taken off, and people are jumping on board. So you got to, on a smaller note, we've got to be careful who you're with and make sure you go with your heart. But on that way, you asked the question, which is a good question. It's a big question, big topic. It's Mother Ayahuasca's role in what is happening in the world. What's happening in the world is huge. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but we know what's going on. It's abuse, the abuse of the world and of its peoples, and the control and lack of freedom, so on and so forth. Mother Ayahuasca's role, with what I've just said, or what we've just spoken about, how this organism is seeding, it's saving itself. If we as humans have the fucking...
But also, also saving us as well. You could be argued, not just saving it itself, but it's saving us as a humanity,
Because we are part of that organism.
Exactly. We live in symbiosis with nature. Well, we're supposed to, at least, anyway, and we've forgotten about that. But
I'm getting goosebumps, man. This is wonderful. You absolutely
it's great. Definitely. But ayahuasca helps bring about, and along with other... psychedelics, hallucinogens as well, helps bring about that connectedness to nature, which is a lot of us have forgotten about. We've forgotten that connectedness and our part, how important nature is to us, and ayahuasca really helps bring that back to us. That's why it's so important.
It's the heart of
it is, isn't it? And it's not just a hippie tree hugger not aspect, but thought process. It's not about that at all. It's about our true nature and who we truly are,
which the authorities might have one believe that it's just hippies and tree huggers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but of course,
because it's a good way of putting a downer on the aspect of the good intent of ayahuasca. Is just put it down as connotations of being a bunch of hippie tree huggers again, and which does have a bad connotation in our society, unfortunately. But it's not about that at all.
That's right. So that's it's a big point. It's saving itself and it's saving us. The forest, if you like, because Mother Ayahuasca represents all living things that have DMT in it. In my opinion, something like that. Now, that opinion will evolve in years to come, of course, in moments to come. But Mother Ayahuasca is a representation of all things with heart, with dimethyltryptamine, which is just 3 words, or dimethyltryptamine, that represents something with love. Within the organism of South America, of the forest, of every single organism, human being, our heart, our mind, with the pineal gland in here, our third eye, and it coincides through synchronicity with what's going on the earth. As adverse as the world is getting now, it's ayahuasca, Mother Sacred Ayahuasca, is peaking as well. No coincidence whatsoever. What is its role? It's fucking huge, and it's amazing. And with going with the flow, you ride that crest, that wave, that flow, and you end up going to Peru. You end up finding yourself, if you're open to it and you're that way inclined, you find yourself having an ayahuasca journey ceremony this coming Friday, what have you. And maybe you find yourself having, what's that, psilocybin? Psilocybin.
From mushrooms. Yeah.
Have we want to go on to that, or?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I think we should. Kind of just want to add something more about DMT though, but it's also called the spirit molecule. Again, we spoke about in the second podcast, and
there's a book.
Yeah, there's a book and a documentary. I put a preview up for the documentary on the second podcast as well, but it's called the spirit molecule, which is a paradox in itself, the term spirit molecule. One's obviously spiritually based and one's scientific based, but it really is a scientific molecule that we do know of. It has we know the structure, we know, the scientific premise behind it, but it helps bring you into the spirit world.
Yeah.
Whether you believe that or not, like I'm still, I've had a couple of things happen to me, which I'm still trying to wrap my head around. These have been over the last couple of years, but I'm still undecided whether there even is a spiritual world, but I think, doing something like this, and for any of us that can achieve it and try and do it, it just helps bring back our divinity, I suppose. Absolutely. Is the word, which again we've lost
big time
as well.
Mostly lost, yes, of course. Sometimes we just touch on it through whatever.
Or we give if we belong to a religion, we give our divinity to someone else, to a priest, or
to a fucking doctrine.
To a doctrine. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Ayahuasca is you. It's your true self, your true inner self, your true spirit, your divinity. So that's what we need to discover. And again, I think that's what ayahuasca is really helping with, and helping people understand that would be a better world once we all discover that.
Absolutely.
Or at least a critical mass, anyway. Yeah. So we'll speak about mushrooms as well. I think it's something that ties in, and I think it's pretty important. Is there anything you want to add to? We'll come back to ayahuasca, I'm sure, on and off as well during this podcast. But
I'll get started with the mushrooms because I haven't experienced magic mushrooms, shrooms, blue meanies, gold tops, whatever. I guess our roles are kind of like reversed. I've had ayahuasca only once. Adrian hasn't. I will be having magic mushrooms for the first time relatively soon, and Adrian has had it once. So our experiences on both of those mind-altering things, mind-opening, heart-opening things, are mirrored and opposites. So I've heard lots of stories about magic mushrooms. We happen to live in a wonderful place where just to the south of us, maybe 100 k's or so, there's a few shires, a few areas, basically the forest, where the fungi grows. And I've heard a lot of stories, and I've always been a bit scared of it, I must say, Adrian, because...
Nothing to be scared of, Ross.
Yeah, right. Well, so I keep hearing. Yeah. So I haven't had it before. You've recently had it. The pleasure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Just on that, with that being scared of it, I think something I was always a bit worried about as well. But again, it's something that we've spoken about before, is how society portrays different psychedelics. And we just got a really backward way of looking at psychedelics. And before I go any further, I should just say talking about ayahuasca and talking about magic mushrooms, they are of course illegal. And we were debating whether to even discuss it literally, or do we call it under something else. But at the end of the day, this sounds grandiose and stupid saying this, but it's bigger than us anyway. Like the importance of these things are bigger than Ross and I, and bigger than anyone out there. It's really something that is very, very important, I believe, and Ross believes, and a lot of other people believe now. And so why not discuss it? We're just part of a small fraction of this community that are trying to progress the knowledge and awareness of this. And
we are progressing.
We're trying to, and I guess that's something what this podcast can help do as well. For anyone that might be watching it, to help gain that knowledge and access of it, and find out just how I found out, just how Ross found out, was just by listening to other people and hear their take on it. So
and being open to it,
being open to it,
flow and all that you're saying.
And then just amazing things can run on from that. So, so I went down to a town to the southwest of Western Australia last week. It was, and managed to find some, and I was with a friend of mine, and we spent that night under the influence of magic mushrooms, and it was just incredible. It was like a really nice. I guess I'll go into what the effects were, but it's just a really nice drunk feeling. When you're not too drunk, but just a nice. You haven't drank anywhere near too much, but you're just feeling good, and things become a lot more clearer in your mind, I should say. Like visually, you might get a bit of blurriness, or some people do hallucinate, but not to any great extent. And then as the night wore on, we just started, me and my friend Daniel, whose name is, we started really getting to some in-depth conversations. And I guess, Ross, the one thing that really I got out of it was everything that we discussed became visualized in my head. In my brain. It was just amazing. Like, we discussed a certain point. We started talking about George Harrison, and then his sort of evolution of awareness and what he went through, and then that led us on to us talking about the universe, and it was just incredible. But everything that we spoke about, we had this deep knowledge and deep, this is the way it is, but with these amazing visuals to actually comprehend it as well. So
which is
really good.
I know there's more to talk about, but on that, I think that's amazing. That because I'm a big one for semantics and the meanings and feelings behind words. You could be talking about the universe, but what feeling and emotions are behind it? Well, all I know is that if you're talking about the universe with somebody and you're getting visuals of shapes and colours which have connotations, certain shapes give you certain feeling, certain colours of shapes give you even more feeling. You know, the feeling, I mean, it gives a whole other meaning to semantics. I mean, this is an enlightened way, I'm starting to believe now, an enlightened way of communication. If you're talking about a subject, but you don't just have words, you got the feelings and emotions through visual. It's fantastic. And also I've heard of stories of people seeing sound. You know, feeling sound, so on and so forth. So, I mean, I don't want to use the word efficient, but what a way to communicate.
And wouldn't it be great if we could do that though? Like use more of our senses to do that, and that's where mushrooms help. Or psilocybin, the ingredient in it. So,
it's opened the doors. Like, I mean, I started off not so much my career, but my experience with mind-altering substances, with pot way back, which I don't smoke anymore, very very minuscule amounts, and it opened certain doors of perception. But I don't need it anymore to open those doors. Those doors are well and truly open. In fact, they don't even exist.
So you know what you want to achieve. You know what you need to look for.
So with psilocybin, is that psilocybin? Yep. With mushrooms, you've experienced talking about something as big as the universe and as small as the universe, with visuals. Now,
and there weren't scary visuals.
Those doors are open now. So maybe we'll communicate that way. Well, you will. We will. You have. That's fantastic. I love that. That's something I can't recall experiencing. With anything else. So, you told me earlier on this morning as well that when you were talking about these things with Daniel, the visuals of the universe and that, which I'm intrigued by, absolutely intrigued by. You were writing notes or drawing as well. Where you both couldn't see what the other person was doing necessarily. And
where I drew something, the nature of the universe as we understood it as fractals and alternate universes and infinite universes, we somehow came up with the same image. So when I drew it down, he's looking at it going, man, that's exactly what I was thinking. So I think I've got it in another book, it's not in this one, but I need to draw it up properly and I'll do all that. I've started on drawing it properly, but I need to finish it off. But it's just incredible.
It's also your creative side coming through,
Definitely. And for me, like studying landscape architecture, it's definitely something I want to use to help. And I guess it's something that, again, going back to, if people watching at this thinking we're not doing this just to trip out, to try and forget about things, or because we've got problems that we need to sort out. It's nothing about that. Ross and I are really doing this for any future employees out there, or any future mother and father-in-laws, that we're doing this for our own educational purposes and the education of other people as well, if we can. And it's just something that's important to us, to help our awareness, to help our evolution through this life. And we're really doing it as a learning experience to help learn as much as we possibly can. And forgetting about the stigma that society has placed on it. It's just bullshit. It really is bullshit. Not just to mention the fact that why should anyone have a say in what we get to put in our bodies? What plants we get to ingest or smoke,
Indeed.
What fucking right does anyone have to tell us what we can't do?
Absolutely.
Two educated, fairly self-aware people especially, getting told that you can't take this drug or take that drug when it's just nothing but beneficial, absolutely nothing but beneficial. So I guess the next part of that, the mushroom experience, psilocybin experience, went out to the forest again the next day, and
I like this.
it's just we took him there, and we just spent the next 3 or 4 hours just walking around the forest. And the only way, I told you, Ross, the only way I could describe it is that we're an absolute wonderment of nature, just incredible. And it was just like being a kid again, just the same way you looked at the world when you were a child. It was exactly the same way. It was fantastic. So,
which some of you on that point there, I think it's very important. I believe that for some of you out there, perhaps, just like being like a child again, like that's some kind of digression.
Yeah.
Well, I absolutely couldn't disagree with that more. You know,
it's just having that inner child in you. Is really
and there's
important.
nothing wrong with it. It's freedom.
Yeah.
What does inner child mean? There's no boundaries. There's no I can't do this. It's exploration, wonderment.
Yeah.
Like you're wondering about this. It's closer to being pure than all these fucking boundaries and controls and rules.
That's
and
exactly
laws
what they are, controls,
and language and you know, words and blah blah blah. When really what you want are visuals and feelings and true things.
Yeah, connectedness.
Walking through a forest and connecting with the forest through all the meaning and feeling and visuals that you get out there.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want answers, you go out to the fucking forest and you'll find them.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
yeah.
if you still...
You can even do it without mushrooms too.
Oh,
you can do that. Just go out to the forest, and just meditate or wherever it might be, and you can have a similar experience. Just magic mushrooms just help with that. And again, it's not about getting off chops, you know, or just getting so drugged up that you don't know what you're doing. It's not about that at all. And sure, some people can use it that way and use it the wrong way. But I would have thought most of the people that go down to southwest or West Australia, or most places to do magic mushrooms, they're doing it because they're really trying to learn. And it's just unfortunate society put that stigma on those people trying to do that.
Of course, there would be some who don't understand don't understand themselves, don't understand that they have got some issues that they might want to address. They haven't accepted that they've got some issues and blah blah blah. And they don't understand what moderation is, and might be doing it to escape from reality and what have you.
Yeah.
But I dare say that the primary reason that self-aware, semi-educated people or not go down to the southwest to have magic mushrooms, absolutely for good reasons.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You know, they might not be aware of it. They may be aware of it or not.
Yeah. Consciously or not.
Absolutely, yeah. But there's magic to be had and there's learning to be had, and that's where I'm at, and that's definitely where you're at.
Yeah.
I mean, I can still function in society and still do fine, you know.
Yeah, sure. You know, sort of good members of society. We don't harm anyone, and you know, it's just a shame how it's being portrayed, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it'd be a damn shame if we were portrayed in any.
Yeah, well, that's a risk we're taking by talking about this now, isn't it? But so be it. Yeah, so. We spent that 3 or 4 hours just walking around the forest. You know, the greens are greener. You know, the reds were redder. It was just a fantastic
Tell me more about
experience.
the forest, man. So you're in Balia? No, that's right. Well, there's many places, that's for sure. There's many places down the southwest, but basically...
There's an area around the southwest area.
It's got to be wet.
Between, sort of Bunbury and Bridgetown, in through there. There's, there's a few different places,
There's a region. Basically, it's got to be cool enough for fungi to grow, mushrooms.
That's it.
Fungi to grow. Enough water. They don't like too much sun, I believe. They've got a fairly short lifespan, even though the season may be long. Yeah. So it's a certain part of the forest that is conducive to growing. And it's not one place, there's a few. There's a few places. So wherever it is, it doesn't fucking matter.
No.
But basically, it's in deep forest, which is number one.
Pine forest too. It has to be pine forest,
It's beautiful. So I want to know not so much where it was, but, you know, this forest is brilliant, whether it's the Amazon or whether it's the southwest.
Yeah.
So the jarrah were cut down due to forestry, which is what I used to do for a living. Not chopping down trees, but I used to work in the industry. Now, so I know a bit about forest. So jarrah forest is out there, but you're in Corymbia Calophyllus, so Maori country.
Yeah.
The big gum nuts.
Yeah.
And there was a pine plantation next door, and the greens were greener.
Yeah, and just, you know, the different flora and fauna around were pretty incredible, and just brought about a connectedness that never had before with nature, and just a really great experience. So, yeah, I guess there's not too much to tell as far as that, but it was just really nice, just a really good way to look at it.
Did you have any questions or anything? You were just rawly experiencing...
That's right. Like I was seeing things for the first time. That's, you know, I was seeing nature as its true self for the first time.
Fantastic.
That's the only way I could describe it.
Brilliant.
So, and then also to play devil's advocate, that could just also be the toxins in the mushrooms as well, if you can call them toxins. But the ingredients, I suppose, in the mushrooms doing that. But it doesn't matter. Like, it was an experience that I had. It doesn't matter if it was doing something bad to my brain or if it was just helping facilitate something in my brain. It doesn't matter. It was the experience itself, which will last me forever and a day. So. I guess I'll just talk about what happened after that then.
For sure, please do.
So this is, I guess, where it links into ayahuasca, where it's really helped me, and I'm so glad that I did the mushrooms before my ayahuasca ceremony. For probably the next 24 hours, 36 hours, the mushrooms, after all the sort of visuals had gone and just the physical experience, really came the emotional and also thought part of it. And it, as I said to you, Ross, it really different thoughts and emotions that I had really sort of certain things that I've been hiding away, like men usually do. You know, you hide a lot of your true thoughts away, your true emotions away.
Yeah.
They just came out and just smacked. I can only describe it as smacking me in the face with that utter clarity. Like I had no option but to face up to them
And accept.
Okay,
because it was you.
Because it was me, and this was helping me to show me. Okay, this is what's been going on with you, Adrian. This is how you view the world. This is how you view other people. This is it. And these are things that I've been just trying to put down in the back of my mind for a long time, and it really helps. So I might just talk about there's 3 things because I think it might be pretty important to talk about. If anyone is looking at doing it, it is a little bit dark, but that's okay. So what I wrote down, and this is also with the help of a good friend of mine when I came back to Perth the first night. She helped me with getting some of this out, but. I will talk about my intent, I guess, for ayahuasca.
Your choice, brother.
The first one was how, and this again, so this is all what came out after the sort of coming down from the mushrooms, but how my darkness really manifests itself, and I wrote here, by wanting or needing to hurt or destroy good things in my life or beautiful things, which is something I've done for a long part of my adulthood, is how I'd have something beautiful in my life and I just want to destroy it.
Yeah.
Destroy that thing. Not physically the person, obviously, but
the relationship you had with
whatever. Yeah, as a relationship, a friendship, whatever it might be, is I'd want to try and ruin it. That's my darkness was causing that to happen. Yeah.
I wonder why.
And man, it was a motherfucker facing up to that. Seriously, it was like bang, smack me in the face. But yeah, I'm so glad it did.
I wonder why previously you did that. Well, why people?
Yeah, again, maybe it was my childhood, maybe it was my environment, maybe it was genetics, maybe it was just me. Maybe,
does one need to know the reason why?
I don't think so.
Accept. Well, you could, but you don't need to.
It may help
because you're accepting the fact that there's a problem there. Well, not there's a problem. There's something you need to deal with.
Yeah.
Accept and deal with.
So it might help to know where it came from, but it probably isn't absolutely necessary. You can still...
If you didn't know where it was from,
you
could see it coming next
time. You could see, so that would definitely be beneficial, but I hope there wouldn't be a next time, but you never know. Maybe this is stuff we're all born with, but again, as children, we're really so susceptible to other people's influences and other people's thoughts, so we adopt
like
a lot of that. Yeah, exactly. When we become adults, we're better at deflecting different bits and pieces, but as a child, so I don't know, maybe it was a childhood thing. I don't know, but I guess that's going to be my intent for my ayahuasca. Is now I know what my darkness is, I've faced up to it, or I had it sort of really hit me, and that's something I need to work on in this ayahuasca ceremony to help improve things going forward in my life.
I mean, you're not so much one step ahead, but I'll use that phrase for the ceremony. You're one step ahead because Adrian is one step ahead because he is aware of it. He's accepted that there is not so much a problem, but there's something he needs to accept and acknowledge and move on from. Now, I mean, I'm not a psychologist, but I'm going to guess that one of the first steps to moving on from things or learning from things is to accept that there's something there, work on it, however you work on it, and learn from it.
From that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I would say that in the spiritual non-linear time realm, that you've already sorted it out. It's just a matter of making it to a
working it out
realization.
now. Yeah, working it through. Yeah. And hopefully the ayahuasca can do this.
Oh, it's already done it, I reckon. And in some weird non-linear time way.
Possibly. The second one, I'm going to talk about this. Why not? We've come this far. The second one's a bit personal, but I've been single for about 4 years now. I haven't been in a long-term serious relationship, I guess, for over 4 years. Just had a lot of shit I needed to sort out, which I have done, but I think, anyway. you never really
Feel?
maybe you never really sort all this stuff out. But this is where different things I'm doing will help. But just I guess my I do have a I wouldn't say love-hate relationship with singledom. I do love being single. It has definitely some fantastic advantages to it. But there are times when I have a dislike with it. But it's sort of, the mushrooms help me realise that maybe that's sort of the energy I'm putting out, if you believe in that. You know, that's why I'm still single, is because I still have that real juxtaposition of love-hate. But maybe that's still common as well. I'm not too sure. It also made me think that maybe there's a purpose to me being single. And I think maybe if I had been, I don't think I would have been able to come as far as I have over the last 4 years. I know I wouldn't have been able to come as far as I have over the last 4 years if I was still in relationships.
I totally agree with you.
There's no way at all. Yeah, I've had that time to really be able to work through these things and become more educated about these different subjects and get myself to a really good point in my life.
This is really, really big. You know, 2 or 3 times when you've been talking about these poignant and personal things, I've found myself sighing. A big release. You know, not that I've been there and done that before, absolutely not, but I feel what you're saying. It's a big thing to speak about things, and to get them out there and accept them. On the single thing, the relationship thing, I'm 34 and I find myself in my first serious relationship. You know, I'm definitely not going to go into the finer details, wonderful as they all are, those finer details, but I was single for my adulthood for 10-15 years, my whole adulthood. And you were saying about how you've had that self-time in the last 3 or 4 years to be able to sort through things, and you may not have been this way if you're with a partner, significant other.
Just
I agree.
Going through just being a serial monogamist for most of my 20s, and it wasn't really that healthy. I was doing that though I guess I did learn from it, obviously, but I did it because I needed it. I needed to be with someone. I couldn't just be on my own, which is a bad thing to be a part of.
Yeah. It's
not healthy anyway.
That's right, you need a balance, don't you?
Yeah.
You need that statera.
Yeah.
And so for me, being single my whole life up to the age of 33, 34, right, my first serious relationship now in the last few months, I definitely can agree with you. I definitely have had that self-time to experience the things that I've needed to experience or what have you, and self-time is wonderful, and sort through all these things. And I believe I'm on the way to being enlightened. I've had an initiation or two and an awakening or two, because there are many, and it's time for me now to learn what I've got to learn, experience what I've got to experience through being with a significant other, which is where I find myself now. And I tell you what, we've sworn a bit in this podcast, but it's a fucking challenge. Wow. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and it's a big sigh. You know, my heart is heart space. You know, this is not to get romantic or airy fairy about things, but there is absolutely this space here, this space here, this space here. There's many spaces, and it's time to get a bit real and go with the flow and your heart space. And I tell you what, I'm learning a lot. Very challenging, and absolutely, Adrian. There's a purpose to everything. Whether you look into it deeply or not. And your second point of your intent is about, you were saying, relationship things.
I don't know if that will be a part of my ceremony on Friday though, but it's just something I realised I became aware of. That which helped. I'll just quickly go on to my third and final one, and then we can move on. But sort of helped made me realise how my feelings and thoughts for those around me were really based upon my own perception of those people. Might not be necessarily true to who they were as people. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, so I'd be big time. Whether it's a friendship or relationship, our perceptions of people are really just exactly that, our perceptions, and may not necessarily really be who those people are. Might not be them true selves. You're putting your own perceptions. At most,
only a part of them.
Exactly right. Yeah, and you're putting your own filters on who that person is. So and it's something I've always sort of been aware of and I might have read about and things like that, but again, the magic mushrooms really just smacked it in my face, like how true that actually is and how much I do that. So I've definitely been, my relationships and friendships with people I've been looking at them a different way. I've really want to change the way I do relate to people and how I perceive them. is the key word there. Yeah. So that really helps.
And this is fantastic. This is really good conversation and discourse, I think, because that's a really big one. Another big one. I mean, we're on this physical world for a limited time. Let's not faff around and have relationships where it's based on exchanging pleasantries and that's it.
Yeah.
And talking about things. I mean, talking about things is great, of course. Talking, but your actions, you got to walk the walk as well.
Yeah, or relationships that are bad, like ego-driven and jealousy-driven. There's plenty of that out there too.
And of course, we can get a bit harsh here, not harsh, but real. And that is, if a relationship or a friendship, a relationship that you have with somebody, is not serving you.
Yeah.
And never really has served you.
Yeah.
And you're not learning from it.
Yeah.
Is the exchange of energy kind of balanced?
Yeah, they're
is
just
it healthy?
using up all your energy.
Are they vampires sucking your shit?
Yeah.
Oh, just cut it off, man.
Exactly. Just get rid of them.
Give them a warning shot across the bow, maybe.
Yeah.
Look, fucking pull your head in, brother. But
It's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
When I did my first journey, one thing I noticed, one of the first things I noticed, apart from all the precursors, the eating healthy and all the rest of it, fasting and whatever, when I was actually there, I didn't know anyone, which is cool. Was that people? I went to shake hands, boys, girls. Went to shake their hand, and they looked at it, smiled, with some kind of humorous disgust, and embraced, and this big hug, and it was a long hug. Now these guys, most of them experienced. There was 3 of us out of 26 who were doing it for the first time, and it was liberating to love each other. Not make love or be in love, but to love, to appreciate and accept the fact that this person that I'm embracing and that is embracing me are just like me.
They're like them.
They're human beings, a being of energy, a being of love.
Yeah.
In that moment, it was a being of love. Now, all you need is love.
Yeah.
More or less. All you need is love. Well, it's so true. I mean,
Carlos, keep going.
just almost going to, but you certainly don't need hate. And all these things. So if you're going to come down, so look, the embrace, a bit of this. Don't be shy, and don't be so egotistical and fucking proud, and testosterone driven or what have you, or homophobic, where you're not going to hug somebody.
This is putting ego in the way, isn't it?
Just get on with it, mate, and realise that if you have friendships of people who are true, honest, and lovely people, then give them a hug, man.
Yeah.
Tell them that you love them to bits.
Yeah.
And with them in your life, that you're a better person.
Exactly right. Having that community, building that community, we can all do that.
And certain things like climbing a mountain, taking mushrooms, taking ayahuasca,
travelling together, wherever it might be,
fasting, eating better, doing exercise. We've spoken about this in other podcasts, the previous podcasts. Bring it on. Moderation, balance, of all those things, and every now and then as well. You don't need to. There's no need for anything. There's no need for cyclical or periodic ceremony. That's fine if you do, but I know people who have had ayahuasca journeying for several years, and sooner or later, a few of them have just stopped.
Yeah.
My journeying days, my sitting days are over, Ross. Yep. Why is that? Well, I don't even need to ask the question why, but I know the answer, and that is what it's time to move on from that.
Yeah.
It's not that they've moved to a higher level. They've got the questions that they've got the answers that Mother Ayahuasca has helped them receive or get.
Sure.
So whether it's now about being in a relationship with a significant other or going travelling or whatever, maybe they'll come back or whatever. But different timing, synchronicity perhaps.
Yeah, is important.
It's very important.
Yeah.
So those relationships, that you were talking about, just things that are positive. Being clouded where you're not appreciating them, and perceptions of relationships from friends, huge, big time.
Which I personally wouldn't have had if it wasn't for taking psilocybin.
Yeah.
Have that awareness.
Yeah. And also everything that led up to you taking that psilocybin, which is just a moment in time.
Yeah.
The friend that you went down with, and everything else since you were born in the previous lifetimes that got you to that point. We know this. I know you know this.
Yeah, all adds up to the present, doesn't it?
I mean, what it actually helps you do on that note, on that point, what psilocybin or DMT or climbing a mountain, releasing of endorphins, whatever, what they actually do in that very instant is help you be present. You're in the forest, it's greener than normal. There's more birds than normal. Well, you're hearing and seeing more birds than normal. Yeah. You're being more present, instantly more instantly reflective. Heart space. Yeah, more open. Feelings more open. Thoughts. The only thoughts you have is about how do I put these beautiful things into words. You know, and maybe you can't. That's where you draw things down. Your creative side's coming out, and you're drawing similar things to your friend who went down with Daniel. Yeah, Daniel. Yeah,
we'll have to get him on the podcast too.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, he's got some amazing stories to tell.
Absolutely, I'm sure he'd be willing to educate us.
Yeah, I asked him. He said, yeah, he'd do it. He'd come on here, so we'll have to sort that out. Get him on here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, what do you think? I think it's all about the magic mushroom side of it.
Okay, so what have we spoken about? Mushies. I don't think we need to talk about any more psychedelic stuff, I guess. I mean, look, let's talk about the non, and we can start talking about it soon if you wish. But what do you think about talking about the non entheogens, the non substances? So, climbing mountains or whatever. So we've spoken about it before. So let's try to cover the same ground. But I had this is cool. I've had 2 experiences in the last 2 weeks that were not induced by the inducing of substances. I was at work. I had my lunch. It was lunch break, half an hour, and I had 10, 15, 20 minutes left, and I'm tired, and I closed my eyes. Upright position, passenger seat of the car, front passenger seat, and I wanted to doze. Just wanted to close my eyes for a bit and relax. Now, this is such a simple little experience, but I tell you what, it's where I'm at right now, and where I want to be. It's beautiful for me. So, I'm falling asleep. I'm asleep, right? And I know I'm asleep because I'm snoring. I could hear my snoring. Hey, sorry. I'm asleep. I know I'm asleep because I had a vision, a little dream, whatever you want to call it, whatever word you want to use. I will use words like a vision, because it wasn't rapid eye movement, deep sleep. I'd been asleep, inverted commas, for a matter of a handful of minutes, maybe 2 or 3. I'm going to guess about 2 or 3 minutes. I'm asleep, I'm getting a vision, and I'm conscious of my snoring. Just little, excuse me. It actually woke me up, and I could hear my team leader turning the pages of his newspaper. So I'm asleep, I'm getting a vision, and I'm conscious of my snoring and my surroundings. My snoring, I realised after the second, was a little bit loud, and I'm a bit self-conscious about my snoring, right? So I chose to wake up. Now that, to me, and I had 2 experiences like that. Another one, I was in bed listening to something, and I had a vision of healing somebody. This is cool as well, right? So I had a vision that I'm healing somebody, like on a healing table, massage table. I'm working on this person's back, and I move around this person's head to have a look at my body in this dream state, to have a look at my body, and there I am as a woman. Now, whether it was me or whether my consciousness was with that woman who was healing, whatever, it doesn't matter about the woman, right? That's another story. That's a whole other tangent. I'll probably meditate on that and do whatever. But the point of that one is that I'm a woman. No. Look.
Is that your true self, Ross?
A woman, yeah. Androgynous as I am, but whatever, different lifetimes, we're everything.
Sure.
But the point being that those two experiences in very close proximity time had in common was that I had a vision, I was sleeping, had a vision, and was conscious of what somebody was saying to me at the time, or my snoring. I mean, those things don't really go together. Being asleep but being awake, being asleep but being conscious and having a vision. Now that beautiful moment there, which would have been only a couple of moments, in both instances, for me, is incredibly important, because if I can, and it's nothing new to a lot of people out there, and I want to do this, I want to start doing workshops, meditation workshops, just nice and easy, nice and simple, where something like binaural beats, where I can, through experience and communicating what I've experienced in a certain way to a few others, if I can get them and myself in a certain ambience to be in a state of mind, a state of relaxation where they are not asleep, just above sleep, encouraged to get to this position through a certain frequency and some nice rainforest sounds, whatever, and hold it so that they are visioning, visions, releasing DMT, because I'm asleep, releasing DMT, remember, releasing DMT but not going to sleep, getting visions. I mean, this can be done. I didn't even try to do it, and I was doing it. I mean, it's nothing new for a lot of people out there, but it's I've also been privileged to be part of a couple of workshops where the facilitator has been trying to do this. Now, so I've paid money, not so they can make a profit, but so they can make a living. I've paid money to experience what I've just experienced the last 2 weeks by myself, with no music, and no intent, well, no conscious intent anyway. And I tell you what, I think I'm knocking on the door. My being is knocking on the door of something pretty good here, because as we know, as I know anyway, the dream state or the astral state, you learn as much there, if not more, than what you do in this physical world. Because in this physical world, we work, we're in relationships. It's sometimes a struggle. Sometimes it's hard to be in the flow. There's all these walls and barriers and rules and controls. And the dream state or the astral, there's no rules. There's no laws.
Maybe that is our true self.
I think so. It's true flow. It's all. There's no time. There's no space. All your lives are rolled into one, or your one life is rolled into many. What do you want to ask? What do you want to learn? Well, ask it. What do you know? It's incredible. So if we can understand that point, if we can get to a point in this physical life, the doors getting to that might be opened through psilocybin or dimethyltryptamine. But if we can get to a point where we don't need those things, I think it'd be it's the way to go. Yeah. And then every now and then, go and visit the teepee, the mountaintop, have some psilocybin or what have you, your choice, or as it chooses you, should we say, and get cracking, I guess. But
you might just need that reset every now and again.
I think so. Yeah. I think you do.
That's what I see it was, as my experience with the mushrooms, is just a reset. Yeah.
Do you think that there's not so much a hierarchy, right? We know this. But do you think that the different vibrations that you're experiencing through life, certain, whether it's psilocybin or DMT or marijuana or trips, LSD or MDMA, do you think that those substances change with the high frequency that we become through evolution?
The effects change, you mean?
No, not the effects, but our physical body, and spirit body, as we evolve, truly evolve, the substances that we induce to reset, they change along the way as well, don't they?
Oh, I guess they evolve, especially mushrooms and things like anything that grows from the ground, plants evolve, no doubt. If there's intelligence behind them, they evolve, and it's argued...
Sorry? With intelligence behind them, which ones do you think have... They're just different types of intelligences, aren't they?
Yeah, well, and the argument that is that they actually feed off us as well. They learn from us, so the ayahuasca learns from humans. The mushrooms learn from us. Their intelligence learned from us ingesting them. I don't know if that's true or not, but it sounds plausible that, they learn from our intellect, our emotions.
Well, I think it's plausible because we are a part of their, the plants or the mushrooms, their surrounding environment. Yeah. So if we're a part of their surrounding environment and it's changing and having an influence on them, which of course we are, then through evolution, necessarily so, for them to survive, They need to learn.
Yeah.
You know, if we're poisoning them or chopping them down, they're going to seed prolifically and get some seed sent, you know, and start growing in another country.
Yeah, sure.
For the legacy to continue, shall we say, or
which is what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is how we started.
Yeah.
Talking Rich podcast.
And on that note,
yeah,
what do you think?
I think I've rabbled long enough about the things that I've found myself talking about, so you know, I'm happy.
Yeah. Cool.
We don't need to recap anything, do we? You know.
No.
Well, on that note, not so much recapping, but this Friday again, you know, we've got our journey. We're both going to the same one. I look very much forward to that, and also our next podcast, so that we can share with the fine people out there our personal experiences on the same brew. Not so much on the same intake, because we'll do whatever we do on the
just
night.
how they differ.
Yeah. And you know, you had psilocybin before, and I haven't had it yet. You know, this is going to be. I'm intrigued, and I'm not like some kid in a candy store. But I tell you what, bring it on. This is that's not ego talking. You know, just the time is nigh. The time is right. I feel for me. You know, things happening in my life where this is on the money. The timing is true. So I'm intrigued to see how we both experience it and how we chat about it, and hopefully it piques some interest with the people out there.
Yeah, hopefully.
There's some learning to be had.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to wind up?
Yeah, cool, brother. You go for it.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I guess that's sort of it. We'll like I said, Ross said, we'll come back and do another podcast after our experience of the Ayahuasca, maybe in a fortnight's time, and we'll be able to talk more about it then. But until then, thanks very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.